Hey everyone, welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving headfirst into a phenomenon that is absolutely everywhere right now, and it's demanding our immediate attention: the generative AI revolution. As you'll see, it's really a dual-strand reality. On one hand, it's an engine of unprecedented economic creation, but on the exact same token, it's a catalyst for massive societal and structural shock.
To really wrap our heads around the spark that ignited this current wave, we just need to look at the adoption rate. It's staggering. ChatGPT hit 100 million users in just 2 months. 2 months! For context, it took Instagram 30 months to hit that milestone, and Uber took 70 months. This completely obliterates all historical benchmarks for technology adoption. It's not just a fancy new tool, it's a fundamental shift in how human beings interact with digital capabilities. And the sheer speed of this uptake is exactly why the ripple effects are being felt so intensely across literally every sector. So to break this all down, we're going to unpack this in 3 main acts. Act I, the opportunities, then Act 2, the shocks, moving into Act 3, the risks, and finally, we'll look ahead at the horizon. All right, let's jump right into Act 1, the opportunities, also known as the productivity boom. The crucial point here is the sheer scale of the economic upside. Goldman Sachs is predicting that over the next 10 years, the productivity benefits of generative AI alone are going to create $1.5 trillion of value, trillion with a T. We're not just talking about doing things a little bit faster. It's about fundamentally removing the traditional bottlenecks on our global productive capacity. We're talking about augmenting human capital so that workers can make better informed decisions, heavily optimize their workflows, and completely bypass those mundane, repetitive tasks. And here's exactly why we're seeing that trillion-dollar valuation. Large language models are rapidly scaling way beyond just basic comprehension or simple math. It's like we're watching AI evolve in real time, from a basic calculator into this incredibly dynamic reasoning engine. It's crossing over into advanced creative tasks and logical reasoning, and honestly performing better than 90% of high schoolers across a vast range of subjects. This evolution is already totally transforming how we work day to day. We are shifting rapidly away from traditional manual coding and moving into this co-pilot paradigm. Think of AI as your intellectual amplifier. Tools like GitHub Copilot, which predict and suggest code based on natural language, are already boosting software developer productivity by a massive 127%. Think about what that actually means. Developers spend way less time debugging and searching for answers, and way more time actually building. It significantly lowers the barrier to entry for highly complex tasks. But hey, this isn't just a game changer for software engineers. It's supercharging science and enterprise across the board. Take DeepMind's AlphaFold. It predicted the 3D structure of almost every known protein. That's a task that previously would have taken decades of human labor. Over in the pharma world, companies like In Silico Medicine are using AI to slash drug discovery timelines down to under 18 months, at a fraction of the traditional cost. And even in finance, platforms like ConfirmU are using game-based generative AI systems to provide alternative credit scoring. This makes credit access incredibly inclusive for folks who have zero traditional financial history. The barrier to innovation is literally dropping everywhere you look. Now, as we shift gears, let's look at Act 2, the shocks, specifically the economic disruption and technological friction. We have to look at the other side of this coin. Goldman Sachs research projects that 7% of workers could lose their jobs entirely in the decade after generative AI reaches half of employers. And here's the real shocker. Unlike past industrial revolutions that mostly automated physical labor, this disruption is distinctly a white-collar phenomenon. It is hitting knowledge workers, from graphic designers to lawyers and strategy consultants, at an unprecedented speed. To put those numbers into perspective, we are talking about over 30 million workers in the US and more than 6 million in the UK who will see at least half of their daily tasks exposed to AI automation. If we don't manage this transition carefully, the rapid obsolescence of traditional job skill sets could lead to some severe economic inequality, sharply widening the gap between the people who leverage AI and the people displaced by it. This massive technological leap has also sparked some intense friction right in the heart of the creative industries. Because the models powering generative AI require vast amounts of data, which is often scraped directly from the internet, we're seeing massive pushback. Creators are alleging unauthorized use of their intellectual property, and it's culminated in fiercely fought landmark legal battles, like Getty Images suing Stability AI over the data they use to train their image generators.
And governments are really struggling to impartially balance these competing interests. On one side, the push for AI innovation demands broader exceptions for text and data mining, but on the other side, creator rights groups are fighting back hard. The UK, for example, actually recently proposed allowing data mining for commercial purposes to help spur AI growth, but they had to completely reverse that policy following severe backlash from the creative sector, including groups like UK Music and the Publishers Association. Finding a neutral, sustainable middle ground here is going to be incredibly difficult. That brings us to Act 3, the risks. We're talking structural, societal, and existential threats. One of the biggest emerging concerns right now is the rise of what's known as agentic AI. We're talking about systems like AutoGPT. These aren't just chatbots waiting for you to type a prompt to write a poem. They're actually capable of creating their own sub-agents to fulfill complex, multi-step tasks totally autonomously. Even though it's still in the preliminary stages, AutoGPT already has more GitHub stars than Meta's highly established PyTorch framework. The massive risk here is long-term alignment. We're looking at systems taking autonomous actions, iterating and executing without a human needing to hit enter every single time. That can easily lead to outcomes we can neither predict nor easily explain. Furthermore, we're rapidly baking these complex, opaque, black box models into critical enterprise infrastructure. Fintech companies are already using them to evaluate risk. Platforms like iCanPay are automating debt recovery, while companies like Evasort are using contract-specific language models for enterprise contract management. The vulnerability here is highly systemic. If these autonomous tools hallucinate or fail, the cascading effects across our financial and legal ecosystems could be devastating, rapidly eroding our digital trust. Finally, let's look ahead to our last section, the horizon, and how we navigate our AI future. So a critical bottleneck for governance, safety, and national competitiveness right now is just raw computing power. We are in the middle of a massive global compute resource race. To give you a sense of scale, the UK government recently committed £900 million to establish an AI research resource, which gets them roughly 3,000 GPUs. However, a single private company like OpenAI is estimated to utilize 30,000 or more top-spec GPUs. When sovereign nations are currently securing only a fraction of the infrastructure wielded by private monopolies, it raises massive questions about who actually has the power to set the guardrails for AI safety and policy. And that brings us to our final defining question. As generative AI transitions from a supportive co-pilot that helps us write code into a truly autonomous agent making structural decisions, how on earth are we going to govern a system that outpaces our own structural evolution? The productivity boom is absolutely here, but those societal shocks are just as real. How we choose to balance innovation with safety and corporate power with democratic oversight won't just dictate the next few years, it's going to fundamentally define the very future of human-AI coexistence. The horizon is approaching fast. How we govern it, well, that's up to us.